I kind of learned to appreciate the significance of the Queen.
When you're trying to become successful, you're gonna have to put in the work and figure out what you truly want to do with the rest of your life. You want to find whatever makes you happy and go after that with all that you have, because you don't want to be stuck doing something that you're not meant to do. You're meant to be happy for your life, and that's what you need to go out and find and chase and pursue that with all your heart and soul. That should be your number one priority, is finding what you love and figuring out a way to commit to that fully.
And so I really kind of lay out that argument and talk about what slave life was really like. Look back at your ancestors, look back at your grandparents, look back at what they did, what they lived through, the seeds that they planted so that you can afford to be in the circumstance that you are in today. If you are a Black American and you are breathing in the United States today, you are the luckiest, among the luckiest of Black people that have ever lived anywhere on the face of the planet. That is an incredible statement. All of human history, the luckiest Black people that have ever lived on the face of the human planet are the ones that are living and breathing in America today, okay? If you understand that, and you should understand it by simply saying, where would you like to live in Africa? For all that hoopla about they took us from Africa, find me a Black American that will tell you they want to move back to Africa. I will, listen, right now, I'll book the flights for them, right? For any person that says we were stolen from our ancestors, I, Candace Owens, am pledging that I will book the flights if you renounce your U.S. citizenship for you to go live back in Africa. The YouTubers, like, digesting my entire life, saying, like, she must be a plant, like, I mean, a Soros plant. I'm like, I've never even voted. I genuinely just was not politically inclined.
If you guys are not yet in on the trend of hashtags, you have got to get started. Formerly known to us all as the digit symbol thingy, hashtags have become a way to establish universal trends in terms of what everybody is talking about online. There are weekly recurring ones like hashtag TBT, which stands for Throwback Thursday, where users can literally affix any event from their past and reshare it with friends. Like this user who just happens to be throwing it back to last week in Miami when he was at a concert. That we have this means of communicating with people from all over the world. It's birthed an era of what I like to refer to as digital activism. An example of this occurred on November 13th, 2015, when the city of Paris was struck by a series of horrific terrorist events you will all recall. It was actually due to the speed of the internet and its associative hashtags that we received real-time coverage of those events.
So I said to my husband the other day that it's become apparent to me over these last few years that the left has no idea that the world did not begin in 1776. 3 years of traveling the country and facing off with hysterical liberals, and that is my scientific conclusion, that they haven't the slightest idea that anything exists or that anything ever existed outside of the United States of America. Let me give you a recent example. You will all recall when the left, which in my opinion has morphed into a doomsday cult, feverishly and inaccurately predicting that everything President Trump says or does will end America. But you all recall when they once again prophesized our doom when Iranian terrorist Soleimani was slain in a military operation. You remember that, right? This is the beginning of World War III, their headlines read. They promised us we were going to head straight into World War III. It was a remarkable day because it was the day that we watched Democrats and liberals to mention to Colin that that particular country of brown and black bodies used to be known as Persia. And rather unfortunately for his implied thesis regarding their perpetual victimhood at the hands of white people, Persia used to be an empire, quite literally an imperial dynasty for 200 years, almost as long as America has been alive. It was once the most powerful state in the world, imperializing regions from Egypt to India, regions of, you guessed it, black and brown people.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was actually the second day at Tennessee. My husband was like, we're doing two things. We're going to the gun shop and we're going to go buy a pair of cowboy boots. Gun shop didn't go well because we still have our DC driver's license, so you have to have a Tennessee license to buy a gun, so we still have to wait for that. But it wasn't difficult to assimilate into the culture because I think actually that was my culture. Like, I'm conservative, right? So I was actually a fish out of water living in DC. Here, I'm like, this is great. Everybody thinks like me, so it's been awesome. I'm just happy to be in the South. It feels like this is where people are sane. And I mean, I guess you can't relate because you weren't in LA, but Daily Wire was in Los Angeles, and it really is the land of the living dead when you're doing LA, New York, and DC.
Thank you all for watching the video. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go ahead and drop a comment in the section down below.